You're not listening. Let's get started, please. Welcome to the 2023 Annual Town Meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please remain standing for a moment of silence in memory of all of the deceased local public servants who have passed away over the last year. Any firefighter, teacher, police officer, town hall worker, any elected or appointed official or town employee, including our most recent loss, our former constable Kevin Haley. Please let us pause. Thank you. You may be seated. I'd first like to introduce the people who spent the last 6 months creating the budget and implementing a spending plan that brought us to this point tonight. Members of the Clinton Finance Committee, Aaron Powell, Bob Lutini, Bill McGrail, Mike Jakonski, Paul Cherubini, and Barney Hastings. Thank you for your service to the town of Clinton. Members of the Select Board, Chair Matt Kobus, Sean Kerrigan, Mary Rose Dickow, Ed DeVault, and Julie Perouse. Thank you for your service to this town. Also with us tonight, Michael Ward, the town administrator, Angela Snell, the assistant town administrator, Robert Gibbons, our town solicitor, and our secretary for tonight's meeting, down front, Ryan Roulard. And I'm Terry Ingano, and I'll be the moderator tonight. Let me quickly remind you of the rules here about town meeting. All questions, comments, and discussions should be directed to me. More than likely, I'm not going to know the answer, but I can at least redirect your question to the appropriate person. To speak tonight, you raise your hand, you wait to be recognized, and then you come forward to the microphone. Make sure to state your name and address before speaking. Please, no personalities, and please keep your discussion focused on the article in question only. And the only votes I'll count are those seated in the hall. I'm sorry, I cannot count the votes from people who may be standing. The only people in the hall right now should be registered voters in the town of Clinton, or a few non-residents or non-voters I've given permission to be here. And I also want to welcome members of Mr. Murray's grade 8 civics class who may be in the balcony tonight. That you guys We do have a formal procedure to handle amendments. All proposed amendments must be in writing, presented to me. If you wish to amend any article, please come down front, obtain a form, fill it out completely, and give it to me when you make your proposal. This will make things easier for everyone. Unless I hear an objection, I will dispense with the formal reading of the warrant. All of you have a copy in front of you, so let's get started. Article 1.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to receive the reports of the town officers.
Second.
All right, Article 1 is to officially accept the annual reports from each town department. Any questions, comments, or discussion? There being none, all in favor, raise your cards now. And opposed? The article is approved. Thank you.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to fix the salaries and compensation of all elective officials of the town as provided by Chapter 41, Section 108 of the Massachusetts General Laws. Said salaries and compensation to be effective from July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024, and to raise and appropriate a sum of money therefore.
Second.
All right, Article 2 simply fixes the salaries and compensation for your elected officials. Questions, comments, or discussion? There being none, all in favor, cards up, and opposed? Thank you, the article is approved. Article 3.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate from the current tax levy the sum of $56,029,954 and to appropriate and transfer from Assessor's Overlay Reserve the sum of $500,000 and to appropriate and transfer the sum of $12,000 and to raise and appropriate the sum of $550,000 from the Ambulance Enterprise Fund and to appropriate from the Ambulance Enterprise Fund retained earnings the sum of $212,061 and to appropriate the transfer, losing my spot here, transfer the sum of $193,000 and raise and appropriate the sum of $2,800,000 from the Water Sewer Enterprise Fund and to appropriate from the Water Sewer Enterprise Fund retained earnings the sum of $195,139 and to appropriate the transfer the sum of $26,000 and raise and appropriate the sum of $670,000 from the Rubbish Enterprise Fund and to appropriate from the Rubbish Enterprise Fund retained earnings the sum of $106,435 and to appropriate and transfer the sum of $32,650 and to appropriate from the Landfill Enterprise Fund retained earnings the sum of $668,275. Said sums to be used to defray town charges from July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024, as those charges appear in the Finance Committee Report of Recommendations.
Second.
Could you repeat that?
New format.
All right, this is your budget. And let's turn to the appendix, all right, the back of your packet, and we'll go through each department's budget. And if you have any questions or comments, please wait to be recognized, and I'll give everyone a chance to look it over one more time at the end as well. So we're starting with number 114, moderator. Everybody there? All right, moderator. Board of Selectmen. Finance Committee. Town Accountant. Board of Assessors. Treasurer Collector. Parking fines. Town Solicitor. Facilities and Grounds. Human Resources. Town Clerk. Conservation Commission. Planning Board. Zoning Board. Montechusett Planning Committee. Economic Development. Insurance and Miscellaneous. Police Department. Fire Department. Building Inspector. Gas Plumbing Inspectors. Sealer of Weights and Measures. Electrical Inspector. Emergency Management. Animal Control Officer. School Department. Department of Public Works. Board of Health. Council on Aging. Department of Veterans Services. Bigelow Public Library. Parks and Recreation. And you'll see many more of the smaller items listed under there. Next page. These are your enterprise budgets. First one, number 232, is Ambulance Enterprise Fund. The next one, Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund. The bottom, Rubbish Enterprise Fund. Followed by Landfill Enterprise Fund. And that's really officially the last one. The very bottom of that page is an overall summary. And by the way, I want to note again that for the second year in a row, there's no need to borrow money to fund our projects this year, 2 years in a row. That's very good news for this community. I'll give you another few seconds to look through that. I realize there's a lot of information there. So any questions, comments, or discussion on Article 3? All right, there being none, all in favor of Article 3 signify by raising your card now. Thank you very much. And opposed? Thank you. Article 3 has been approved.
Mr. Moderator, I move to reconsider Article 3.
Second.
All right, Article 3 is being amended to reconsideration. So let's go over reconsideration one more time. If you vote right now in favor of reconsideration, you nullify the last vote, and I get to read all those things all over again to you, okay? If you are opposed to reconsideration, then that means this last vote stands, and this article cannot be brought up again at this town meeting. So, all in favor of doing this all over again, please signify by raising your card now, and opposed, please raise your card. Thank you very much. Article 3 will not be reconsidered. Thank you. Article 4.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to authorize the town treasurer and town collector to enter into a compensating balance agreement with a banking institution for fiscal year 2024 pursuant to Chapter 44, Section 53F of the Massachusetts General Laws.
Second.
All right, Article 4 simply allows your town officials to put your money in an interest-bearing account. Questions, comments, or discussion? There being none, all in favor, cards up, and opposed? Thank you very much. The article is approved. Article 5.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $4,800, said sum to be expended for social services in accordance with programs as approved by the Select Board.
Second.
All right, Article 5 is before you. This is our annual standard contribution to local social services. Questions, comments? There being none, all in favor, cards up, please. And opposed? Thank you. The article is approved. Article 6.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $20,000, said sum to be expended as the town of Clinton's share to the Wachusett Health Education Action Team, which committee is a delegate agency of the United Way of Tri-County.
Second.
All right, Article 6 is simply our annual assessment to wheat. Questions, comments? There being none, all in favor, cards up, and opposed? Thank you. The article is approved. Article 7.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half of the Massachusetts General Laws to set the limits on the fiscal year 2024 total amounts that may be expended from each of the town's revolving funds established under the town's administrative bylaws. Gas plumbing inspection, $50,000. Council on Aging, $60,000. Town hall use, $5,000. Old Home Day, $40,000. Fuller Field, $5,000. Town Clerk, $10,000.
Second.
All right, Article 7 is before you now. This article simply sets the limits on the amount of money that various groups can take from their revolving accounts. Questions, comments? There being none, all in favor, cards up, please. And opposed? Thank you, the article is approved. Article 8.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate from the Assessor's Overlay Reserve Account the sum of $50,000, said sum to be used to continue the Veterans and Senior Tax Rebate Program for fiscal year 2024.
Second.
All right, Article 8 simply takes the $50,000 from one fund and moves it to the tax rebate program so that senior citizens and veterans can take part in this volunteer program to lower your taxes. Questions, comments? There being none, all in favor, cards up, and opposed? Thank you, the article is approved. Article 9.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from certified free cash the sum of $150,000 to the Health Insurance Trust Fund.
Second.
All right, Article 9 is taking money out of free cash for the Health Insurance Trust Fund. Questions, comments? There being none, all in favor, cards up, please. And opposed? Thank you, the article is approved. Article 10.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from certified free cash the sum of $500,000 to the Stabilization Fund.
Second.
All right, as stated, this article transfers money from free cash to stabilization, and we need your approval to do this. Questions?
Mr. Moderator,
Yes.
I just want to point out this is the second year in a row we've been able to put $500,000 into the stabilization fund. Normally it's been about $100,000. I want to commend the town administrator and his financial team for doing the hard work to get us ahead on this game, because a lot of towns around here were spending out of their stabilization fund instead of adding to it.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on moving from free cash to stabilization? Question? Did you have a question? Come on down.
Moderator, my name is Adrian Millette, 42 Nashville Street.
Get a little closer.
My name is Adrian Millette, 42 Nashville Street. Can you hear me now?
It's the other side, Adrian.
Whoops. The microphone.
This way.
There you go.
Oh, well, I'm
I would have done the same thing.
so sorry. My name is.
See it.
I was like, it's
My
not
name.
on.
Well, let them know them.
I know. I would have
ahead.
done the same.
My name is Adrian Millette, 42 Nashville Street. I have a question because a lot of people recently has asked us too. Where's free cash come from? What's free cash? Can someone answer that question for me?
You want to try that?
Sure, Mr. Moderator, I'd be happy to answer that question. Free cash is the certified surplus of our fund, general fund balance from the previous fiscal year. So this is money that had either been unspent or revenues came in over projection, and then that money is now available to town meeting to repurpose for other uses.
Does it go into a bank account or something that?
It is in our bank accounts. It stays there as a separate number that's available for appropriation. If it isn't spent, it'll close out at the end of the fiscal year again and kind of go through the whole account closing with the state, and they review all the numbers, and then they come up with a determination as to what we have surplus from that year.
Understood, thank you.
Yeah,
I
you're
appreciate that.
Many of your articles tonight are being funded out of free cash. So, I've already lost myself here. Did we vote on this
10.
yet?
We
We have not. So Article 10, the transfer from free cash to stabilization. Any other questions? There being none, all in favor, cards up, please. And opposed? Thank you, the article is approved. Article 11.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from the Landfill Enterprise Fund Reserve for construction the sum of $3,200,000 to the Capital Projects and Infrastructure Improvements Stabilization Fund.
Second.
All right, Article 11 transfers money from the Landfill Enterprise Fund to the fund where we can actually use it now for various projects. Questions, comments? There being none, all in favor, cards up, please. And opposed? The article is approved. Thank you. Article 12.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to rescind the borrowing authorization of $110,400 from Article 24 of the 2020 annual town meeting for the purchase of open space, whereas this project was funded by a state grant.
Second.
All right, so Article 12, you might remember from 2020, we asked you for money to purchase open space in the town of Clinton. The state ended up funding that project, so therefore we now need to rescind that borrowing authorization because we don't need the money anymore. The state paid for it. Questions, comments? There being none, all in favor and opposed? Thank you. The article is approved. Article 13.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote pursuant to Chapter 40, Section 5B of the Massachusetts General Laws to establish a special purpose stabilization fund known as the Opioid Settlement Stabilization Fund for money received from judgments or settlements in litigation or claims against opioid manufacturers or distributors to be expended for all of the purposes allowed by law, which including those outlined in applicable opioid litigation settlement documents and consistent with any state guidelines or regulations, further clarifying allowable uses of opioid litigation settlement funds. And further, to see if the town will vote to accept the provisions of the fourth paragraph of said Section 5B to dedicate all or a percentage, which may not be less than 25%, of the money received from judgments or settlements in litigation or claims against opioid manufacturers or distributors to the Special Purpose Stabilization Fund established under this article, effective for fiscal year 2024, beginning on July 1st, 2023, and further, to transfer from certified free cash the amount of such judgments or settlements received by the town to date in the amount of $104,872.67 to the Special Purpose Stabilization Fund established under this article.
Second.
All right, this article is asking you to set up a special opioid settlement stabilization fund and also to put in the $104,872.67 that we just received. And the state has required us to set up a special fund for these purposes, and I would assume in the future you'll be asked to vote to use some of these funds for opioid education, opioid prevention, something like that. Any questions, comments, discussion? There being none, all in favor? Yes, does require a 2/3 vote, I knew that. All in favor? All right, and opposed? Thank you very much. The article is approved. I have it right here. Go ahead.
I know you.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from certified free cash the sum of $21,200, said sum to be expended by the treasurer collector for the following unpaid bill. The Zikos Group, $21,200.
Second.
All right, this article and the next two after that are dealing with unpaid bills, which occur from time to time for a lot of different reasons, most of the time poor timing. work done in one fiscal year and not billed till another fiscal year, and that means we need permission to pay those bills. You can't pay old expenses with new money. That's how it works. So this one happens to be from the Treasurer Collector's Office. The money for these is all coming from free cash, and it requires a 4/5 vote. So, any questions, comments, or discussion? This is an unpaid bill from the Treasurer Collector's Office. There being none, all in favor, hands up. And opposed? Thank you, the article is approved. Article 15.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from certified free cash the sum of $1,237.50, said sum to be expended by the permitting department for the following unpaid bill. Mead, Tellerman, and Costa, LLC, $1,237.50.
Second.
Article 15 is the unpaid bill from the permitting department. Questions, comments? There being none, all in favor, hands up, please. Thank you, and opposed? Thank you, the article is approved. Article 16.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from certified free cash the sum of $28,876.73, said sum to be expended by the Director of Facilities and Grounds for the following unpaid bill. ARC Mechanical, $28,876.73.
Second.
All right, Article 16 is unpaid bill from Facilities and Grounds Department. Questions, comments? There being none, all in favor, hands up, please. And thank you, and opposed? Thank you, the article is approved. We're on to Article 17.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate from the PEG Access and Cable Related Fund the sum of $225,000, said sum to be used by the Community Television Department for support of cable access related service operations, including personnel, programming, expenses, and equipment.
Second.
All right, this article and the next two are already funded through the PEG or cable account. If you have cable at your home, you're paying a little bit of money that goes toward this, and of course Comcast has to match it and more. So the fund gets larger and larger. In the next three articles, we want to spend some of that money to improve our cable access services. So, questions, comments on this one? Article 17. There being none, all in favor of Article 17? Thank you, and opposed? Thank you, the article is approved. Article 18.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate from the PEG Access and Cable Related Fund the sum of $300,000, said sum to be used by the Community Television Department for support of cable access related capital needs, including system, capital improvements, equipment upgrades, studio design, and construction.
Second.
All right, Article 18, coming from the PEG Fund, where the money is already there for capital improvements, including setting up a new studio. Questions, comments? There being none, all in favor of Article 18, cards up, please. And opposed? Thank you, the article is approved. Article 19.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate from the PEG Access and Cable Related Fund the sum of $25,000, said sum to be used by the Community Television Department for fiscal year 2023 cable access related services, programming, and equipment.
Second.
All right, one more time for the PEG account to make further improvements. Questions, comments? There being none, all in favor of Article 19, cards up, please. And opposed? Thank you, Article 19 has been approved. We're on to Article 20.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from certified free cash the sum of $100,000, said sum to be expended by the Department of Facilities and Grounds for beautification of the downtown business district.
Second.
All right, your Article 20 is for the Facilities Department, $100,000 for High Street Beautification, that means things like flowers, banners, holiday lighting, things of that nature. And it's coming from free cash. Questions, comments? There being none, all in favor of Article 20, raise your cards. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is approved. Article 21.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from certified free cash the sum of $160,000, said sum to be expended by the Department of Facilities and Grounds for the purchase of a new mower for the maintenance of land on school grounds.
Second.
All right, Article 21 has been moved and seconded. It's Facilities Department, $160,000 for a new lawnmower. I assure you it is not of the push variety. Coming from free cash. Questions, comments, or discussion?
More like I'd like to be educated again. Adrienne Millette, 42 Nashua Street. Mr. Moderator, $160,000 for a lawnmower. Can you educate me on this lawnmower, please?
Matter of fact, I can't,
Thank you.
but I know who can. Brian Farragut, would you, our facilities director, I'm sure could address the $160,000. I know it's not your ordinary lawnmower. I do know that.
Brian Farragut, 1 Worcester Street, Director of Facilities. So, yes, it seems like a lot for a lawnmower. We did get a proposal, and it came in for about $164,000. It's 16-foot deck that covers, we mow up at the schools close to 70 acres of land. Probably 90% of them are used for athletic events, field days, school activities, things like that. So. Our staff does a very good job of maintaining those fields. Currently, the system we're using now is similar to the quote that we got, but it's 16, 17 years old. We're lucky if we get another 2 years out of it, and with the amount of land up there, if that system does go down, we'll be unable to maintain the fields the way they are right now. And if you look around and compare to other towns or local towns, I think our staff does a very good job, but we have to give them the equipment that they need in order to not spend 7 straight days mowing. With this equipment, we can maintain that facility, mow all the fields in a day, which allows us to cut it multiple times per week, which has it ready for the community. So,
Thank you, Brian. Yes.
Can I continue with this for 1 moment, please? Because I'm still confused, Brian. So will that just be for the schools, or will it be for the parks and the Fuller Field and Vale Street? Can we move that to everybody share it and make this town really beautiful? You want to beautify the downtown business district all around here, Vale Street. Can that be moved and transported and shared by all the departments?
it can, but ideally that would stay stationary up at the schools. We have equipment that is more suitable for the parks. There's narrow entrances, there's putting them on trailers. So a lot of this is more efficiency as well. The work that's done at the schools stays at the schools. There's a lot of land at the schools, so that equipment there, one way to preserve it is to not move it as much. The equipment we have for the parks, Vale Street, cemeteries, we look to see how best and how efficient they can be. So we wouldn't get a 16-foot deck, for example, for the cemeteries, because there's hills and there's narrow, in between gravestones. The parks, there's better equipment. So we're trying to get the best equipment for the area that they service. And for the schools, with the land being flat, the majority of it being either baseball, softball, field hockey, this is the mower, and working with the contractor, this is the pricing we got based on kind of the lot and lay of the land, and it would be the best suited for that area. So yes, it was one quote, so there is a procurement process that we will go through. We're not going to spend any money that we don't have to. The town will get a discount, but we don't have final pricing until we can lock in a deal or sign a signed proposal, and we can't do that without knowing if it's gonna go forward. So that 160 should come down, and we will only spend what we need for that particular mower. If it's less than 160, that money we can certainly give it, reallocate it at another meeting or next year, or however we need to do that. So. Yes, there's certain procurement criteria that we would meet in order to get the best price for the town for the item that we need. So it's going to meet all our specific criteria for the mower itself, and then the process we can go through and make sure that we get fair pricing.
Great, thanks for the education.
Thank you very much, both of you. All right, time to vote for Article 21. All in favor of Article 21, cards up, please. And opposed? Thank you, the article is approved. Article 22.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from certified free cash the sum of $180,000, said sum to be expended by the Department of Facilities and Grounds to construct a new steel storage structure at the Veterans Athletic Complex and for repair and improvements to the current athletic complex, field house, and surrounding grounds.
Second.
All right, Article 22 is $180,000 to construct a new storage building up across from Clinton High School and to make general improvements to the field house and the field house area. Questions, comments? There being none, all in favor, cards up, please. And opposed? Thank you, the article is approved. Article 23.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from certified free cash the sum of $95,000, said sum to be expended by the Department of Facilities and Grounds for repairs and improvements to the parking lots at Clinton High School and Clinton Elementary School.
Second.
Article 23, improvements, repairs for the parking lots at Clinton High and Clinton Elementary. If you've walked those recently, you know that they need some work. Article 23, all in favor, cards up, please. And opposed? Thank you. The article is approved. Article 24.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from certified free cash the sum of $70,000, said sum to be expended by the Department of Facilities and Grounds for the purchase of a F-550 Super Duty truck.
Second.
All right, Article 24, $70,000 to purchase a new truck for our facilities department. Questions or comments? There being none, all in favor, cards up, please, and opposed? Thank you, the article is approved. On Article 25.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from certified free cash the sum of $40,000, said sum to be expended by the Department of Facilities and Grounds for repairs and improvements to the restrooms, field house, and concession stand at Fuller Field.
Second.
All right, Article 25, $40,000 to make improvements and repairs to the Fuller Field concession stand and the restrooms. Used very often nowadays by youth football, Little League, I think the Babe Ruth team, still used quite a bit down there. And it's coming from free cash. Questions, comments, or discussion? There being none, all in favor of Article 25, cards up. And opposed? Thank you. The article is approved. Article 26.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from certified free cash the sum of $50,000, said sum to be expended by the Department of Facilities and Grounds for repairs and improvements to Clinton Town Hall.
Second.
All right, Article 26 is, again, seeking $50,000 to make some repairs and improvements to this building. We're talking about basic repairs, some roof tiles, some painting, things of that nature. Coming again from free cash. Questions, comments? There being none, all in favor of Article 26, cards up. Thank you, and opposed? Thank you, the article is approved. Article 27.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from certified free cash the sum of $45,000, said sum to be expended by the Department of Facilities and Grounds for repair and improvements to Carlisle Park, including a feasibility assessment for constructing a playground in this open space.
Second.
All right, Article 27, $45,000 to make improvements, benches, railings, lighting to Carlisle Park on Burdett Hill, and to complete a feasibility assessment on the possibility of putting a playground up there. Again, coming from free cash. Questions, comments? There being none, all in favor of Article 27, cards up, and opposed? Thank you, the article is approved. Article 28.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from certified free cash the sum of $150,000, said sum to be expended by the Bigelow Library Board of Trustees from Planning and Design to apply for a grant from the Massachusetts Public Library Construction Program.
Mr. Moderator, there is an amendment to this one. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Second.
Mr. Moderator, I further move to amend Article 28 in its entirety to now reads as follows: that the town vote to apply for, accept, and expend Massachusetts Public Library Construction Program grant funds, if approved, and vote to appropriate and transfer from certified free cash the sum of $150,000. If said MPLCP grant is approved, said sum to be expended by the town for library, assessment, planning, feasibility, and/or design.
Second.
All right, Article 28 is about our public library, and it's obviously it's a commitment to a grant. The state likes to see the local community put in some of its own effort toward a new project or whatever. This one is involving the planning, feasibility, and design for our public library. Again, it's coming from free cash. Questions, comments, or discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Of the amendment.
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you very much. I'm falling asleep up here, sorry. We first have to vote for the amendment, my fault, all right? So first, we're voting for the amendment only, not the article itself. So you heard the change in wording that Matt read. Would you like me to read it again? You want to do that again one more time? Just that the town votes right there.
All right, here we go. I got you. The town vote to apply for, accept, and expend Massachusetts Public Library Construction Program grant funds, if approved, and vote to appropriate and transfer from certified free cash the sum of $150,000, if said MPLCP grant is approved, said sum to be expended by the town for library, assessment, planning, feasibility, and/or design.
Thank you. Although, any questions or comments on the amendment? Thank you. There being none, all in favor of the amendment, cards up. All right, and opposed? Thank you, the amendment is approved. Now, any comments or discussion about the article itself? Great. There being none, all in favor, cards up, please, and opposed? Thank you, the article is approved. All right, we managed to get through that. Article 29.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from Water Sewer Enterprise Fund retained earnings the sum of $200,000, said sum to be expended by the Department of Public Works for water and sewer infrastructure improvements.
Second.
All right, we're on Article 29. This article transfers money from the Water Sewer Enterprise Fund to be used for water and sewer infrastructure work and improvements in our community. Questions, comments? on Article 29? There being none, all in favor of Article 29 signify by raising your card now. Thank you, and opposed? Thank you, the article is approved. We are now on Article 30.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from certified free cash the sum of $166,842. Said sum to be expended by the fire chief for the purchase of a new forestry truck.
Second.
All right, Article 30 is from your fire department, looking for $166,842 to purchase a new forestry truck. Questions or comments? There being none, all in favor, cards up, please. And thank you, and opposed. The article is approved. We're on to Article 31.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from certified free cash the sum of $95,450, said sum to be expended by the fire chief to fund retroactive wages as part of a negotiated agreement between the town of Clinton through the Select Board and the International Associations of Firefighters, Local 3189, for the period July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2025, having been negotiated in accordance with MGL Chapter 150E as amended.
Second.
Mr. Moderator, I further move to amend Article 31 to appropriate from the Ambulance Enterprise Fund retained earnings the sum of $25,000, said sum to be used to fund retroactive wages for personnel in the Ambulance Enterprise Fund.
Second.
All right, thank you. So now we're talking about the amendment that Matt just read. So first of all, any discussion on the amendment? I'll explain what's going on in a minute. Any discussion on that? If not, we're voting for the amendment right now to Article 31. All in favor of the amendment to Article 31, cards up, please. Thank you, and opposed? Thank you, the amendment has passed. Now, about the article itself, the next actually 5 articles are a result of negotiations between the town of Clinton and various unions in town. And each will take monies from free cash to fund retroactive wages for the first year of the contract. Now, you won't see this in the future because obviously it'll be part of the budget submitted by the various departments. But for this one, we need to go back and fund from free cash the retroactive wages. This one, Article 31, happens to be for our firefighters. Questions, comments, or discussion? There being none, all in favor, cards up, please. Thank you, and opposed? Thank you, the article is approved. Article 32.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from certified free cash the sum of $94,580, said sum to be expended by the police chief to fund retroactive wages as part of a negotiated agreement between the town of Clinton through the Select Board and the Massachusetts Coalition of Police, Local 151, for the period July 1, 2022 to June 30th, 2025, having been negotiated in accordance with MGL Chapter 150E as amended.
Second.
All right, so Article 32 is your retroactive wages for our police officers. Questions, comments, or discussion? There being none, all in favor, please raise your cards now, please. Thank you, and opposed? Thank you, the article is approved. Article 33.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from certified free cash the sum of $43,630, said sum to be expended by the police chief to fund retroactive wages as part of a negotiated agreement between the town of Clinton through the Select Board and public safety dispatchers through Mass COP Local 490 for the period of July 1, 2022 to June 30th, 2025, having been negotiated in accordance with MGL Chapter 150E as amended.
Second.
All right, Article 33 is your retroactive wages for our public safety dispatchers. Questions or comments? There being none, all in favor, cards up, please. Thank you, and opposed? Thank you, the article is approved. Article 34.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from certified free cash the sum of $14,100 and to appropriate from the Water Sewer Enterprise Fund retained earnings the sum of $34,600 and to appropriate from the Rubbish Enterprise Fund retained earnings the sum of $8,200 and to appropriate from the Landfill Enterprise Fund retained earnings the sum of $8,450, said sums to be expended by the Department of Public Works to fund retroactive wages as part of a negotiated agreement between the Town of Clinton through the Select Board and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Council Number 93, for the period July 1, 2022 to June 30th, 2025, having been negotiated in accordance with MGL Chapter 150E as amended.
Second.
So you have Article 34, which is your retroactive wages for our DPW employees. Questions, comments? There being none, all in favor of Article 34, cards up, please, and thank you, and opposed? Thank you, the article is approved. Article 35.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer from certified free cash the sum of $58,385, said sum to be expended by the Department of Facilities and Grounds to fund retroactive wages as part of a negotiated agreement between the Town of Clinton through the Select Board and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Council Number 93, for the period July 1, 2022 to June 30th, 2025, having been negotiated in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 150E as amended.
Second.
So Article 35 is your retroactive wages for your facilities and grounds employees. Questions, comments? There being none, all in favor, cards up, please. And opposed? Thank you, the article is approved.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to take a second to recognize Mr. Ward and his team that spent the time negotiating all the contracts. This year, we negotiated contracts for each collective bargaining union in town, which was a schedule that the previous select board wanted to get on. So it was a arduous process. Thank you very much for the efforts of Michael and his team.
Hear, hear.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town will vote to initiate the process to aggregate electrical load pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 164, Section 134, and further to adopt the following resolution. Whereas the Commonwealth of Massachusetts has engaged in a process to establish a competitive marketplace through the restructuring of the electricity market, and whereas citizens of Clinton have a substantial economic and social interest in terms of greater customer choice and opportunities for saving in this restructured market, and whereas the town of Clinton hereby finds that it may be in the interest of its citizens who are electric ratepayers, both residential and commercial industrial, to develop and secure such approvals and enter into appropriate agreements with consultants, experts, and attorneys in connection with the establishment and operation of an electricity aggregation plan. Be it therefore resolved that the town of Clinton hereby publicly declares its intent to become an aggregator of electric power on behalf of its residential and business electric customers, and to reestablish such plan if its operation is suspended, and to negotiate and enter into contracts for power supply pursuant to the plan or services for such plan, with the understanding that if a power supply contract is executed, individual consumers would retain the option not to participate in the aggregation plan and instead to choose any electricity alternatives they desire, and further to take such other action relative hereto as may be appropriate and necessary.
Second.
All right, Article 36, all of that really just means that this article would give authority to town officials to put out bids to find the very best rates from an energy supplier for local residential and commercial customers. It's not something that would be forced on anybody. We're not even there yet, but you could opt out if you didn't agree or whatever. But certainly a town could get much better rates than an individual anyway. So that's what we're doing. We're just trying to give the town officials authority to go out and get the best rates they can for all of us. Any questions, comments on that? There being none, all in favor of Article 36, cards up, please. And opposed? Thank you. The article is approved. All right, Article 37 and 38. Just, we're getting into the home stretch. I don't know what time it is, but we're doing very well, and I'm pleased with that. But these last two articles are citizens' petitions, and that means that your select board did not fully discuss each of these. They didn't take an official position on any of these issues, or they certainly did not vote on them, and that's because they're from citizens' petitions. So because of that, I just want to suggest that if any select board member up front here wishes to speak on these articles, they should probably do so as a private citizen down on the town hall floor. All right. So article, go ahead, you're reading, you're going to read Article 37.
Mr. Moderator, I make a motion to move Article 37.
Second.
Questions, comments?
Yes, Mr. Moderator. My name is Mary Rose Dickout, 11 Harris Street, Clinton. I was the one that put this article before the town for tonight. And the reason I did it was when I was running for election last year, I heard from hundreds of people, when's the election? Traditionally, our election was conducted historically on the first Monday in May. In 2010, it was changed to the second Monday in June. And I believe most people have a handout that I compiled for them that will show that the numbers have decreased dramatically since we have gone to the new date. And all I'm asking is for people to consider changing it back to the first Monday in May. And, you know, I know that there's been some issues that the new selectmen wouldn't have really enough of time to be able to, know about the budget and stuff. But I saw tonight a group of our people that pay taxes, live in this town, that approved almost $70 million. And you didn't have a lot of time to think about it, but you entrusted yourselves to this finance committee that have worked on it for months and months and months. And I truly believe that history shows itself. I think we want to have people participating. And people just aren't coming out in the second Monday in June. It's getting close to summertime. They're not thinking about a local election. So all I'm asking is that you consider to bring it back to the first Monday in May. And that's all the article means. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Conley.
Mr. Moderator. Bill Conley Jr., 46 Winthrop Street. This is kind of awkward. All the times I came up here before, we could speak to the audience.
Turn it around.
But I'm getting up in support of the motion made by Mary Rose Dickout. I was on the board at the time that this change was made, and pay attention, because you don't hear this often from me, but I made a mistake. I made a mistake. And you have an opportunity to correct that mistake for me right here tonight. I don't think the benefit that we thought we would get by postponing town meeting and postponing the annual election was because we weren't getting up-to-date financial information from the state. And we thought it would make it easier for us or make a better budget if we had the time, if we waited till we had the final answer. But in reality, what happened during those subsequent years, we didn't get financial information from the state until sometime September and October. So the intended improvement didn't work out. And maybe I'm old, but still today, I think the first Monday in May is the annual town election. And I think that's what it should be. Thank you.
Hello, John Woodsmall, 17 James Street. I would encourage people to vote no against this. Quite frankly, whether you have this in May 1st, February 1st, June 1st, June 30th, it doesn't make a difference. People do not pay attention to local government, and that's a failure on a number of different things that we're not going to solve here at town meeting. At its basic level, having the town meeting and the town election at this time of year is the easiest in terms of administratively constructing a budget and having a fairly good idea of what's going to happen with the state revenue. Both the state House of Representatives and the state Senate have passed their budgets, so you have a floor of what you're going to get at this time. It changes every year, but changing the date that's now been in place for, how many years now, did you say? 13? I don't know. I've been in this town about 20-something years, and now 13 of them have been on the first and second Monday of June. So what it was 13, 15 years ago doesn't make a lick of difference in terms of somebody remembering to come out. It's incumbent upon town government to advertise it as much as possible through their efforts on Facebook and things like that. But changing this is just going to create confusion, and a certain portion of the population may be happy that it's back to where it was 30 years ago, but it doesn't do anything in actually getting people out. And the numbers that were presented are, I commend you for doing the research, but correlation doesn't equal causation. And if you look at these numbers across virtually every municipality in the state, they're all going down. And changing this is not going to make a lick of difference.
Moderator, Sean Kerrigan, 86 Orange Street. I'll underscore what Mr. Woodsmall said, but, and similarly, I don't mind moving things, but if we don't move town meeting with it, I just think it leads to potential for disarray. This board's worked with this financial team throughout the whole year, not just the past 6 months, and to put potentially 40% change into that weeks before the budget's decided, I just think it puts the town in a situation where we're not in the best position we could be. I think we've seen what working with the Finance Committee and Michael's team has got us as far as fixing the stabilization fund, paying for things out of free cash and not having to borrow. I'm not sure why we want to break that model right now, just for a potential. I'm fine with getting more people out. I'm not sure moving it's going to get it, and I'm going to vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cobus.
Matt Cobus, 395 Wilson Street. This is too short, too. Here we go. All right, Matt Cobus, 395 Wilson Street. I second what Mr. Kerrigan had said. To have an election before a town meeting, essentially the moderator could potentially, if they were to lose the election, you're going to have a new moderator within 3 to 4 weeks of the next election, and you're going to have a select board and a finance committee that put together the budget. So you're talking 75% of the process is finished, and you could potentially have 2 new select board members coming into play that are going to be on the stage, whether they have to advocate for or against any of the items that have been brought forth by the Finance Committee and by the Select Board. If we were to move both to May, then I would be in support of this. But to have the election ahead, I cannot be supportive of it. And I had spoke to a couple other municipalities around us, and it's very uncommon to have an election prior to a town meeting because of that very reason. Thank you.
Moderator, I'd like to address that point raised by Select Board Chairman Matt Cobus. You or the Board of Selectmen don't determine when town meeting is. You can't change the date of town meeting. That's up to the moderator. It's his decision where, when, and how to have annual town meeting. So he's perfectly capable on his own and in collaboration with the Board of Selectmen. If they deem that it's important to have town meeting before the annual election, they can change it back to he can change it back to April like it was before. It's completely his call. You can't decide to, so we can't change it here tonight. Only the moderator can change it. Thank you.
Charles Kellner, 33 Beach Street. I'd like to point out that moving the election to May would make the timing inaccessible to college students who call Clinton their home, since they'll still be away at college, which seems unfair to young voters.
Any other comments? All right, we're set to vote. One more time. So Article 37 would move the town election to the first Monday in May instead of the second Monday in June as it is now. So all those in favor of Article 37 to move town elections back to May, please signify by raising your card now, please. Why don't you keep them up? And I don't think we need counters, but okay. And opposed to leaving it, you're going to keep it where it is, hands up. Thank you. That Article 37 is defeated. Thank you. Article 38.
Mr. Moderator, I vote to reconsider Article 37, please.
Second.
All right, Article 37 to be reconsidered, and I have to go through my notes again too, just to remind everybody else and myself. If you vote in favor of reconsideration, you nullify what we just did, and we start the discussion all over again. If you are opposed to reconsideration, then the last vote stands and it cannot be brought up again. All those in favor of reconsidering the last article, please signify by raising your card now. And opposed to reconsideration. Thank you. Reconsideration, that article will not be reconsidered. Thank you. We're on the last article of the evening, and another citizen's petition. Go ahead, ma'am, sorry.
Mr. Moderator, I make a motion to move Article 38.
Second.
Okay, Article 38 is to establish an agricultural commission here in Clinton. Questions, comments, or discussion? Yes, Gloria.
I'm looking for information, and I have 4 examples. May I do that? It's about the forestry part of this committee. There are already in our community a number of forestry areas that are being actively managed, and they are as follows. Rauscher Farm is managed with a woodland enhancement plan. This was a plan that a licensed forester working with the town put into place in 2017. Secondly, and this plan is going to be updated to include climate resiliency. So second is that the town, in 2017, the Seislick Forest and 40 Caves, it is my understanding that the Sudbury Valley Trust actively managed those woodlands as part of that negotiation with the town in 2017. The town is currently wrapping up a 2-year program, an MVP, Municipal Vulnerability Project with Linian Solutions, and they too, in year 1 of the 2-year, this is between Clinton and Bolton, they too have a forest component in that plan. And finally, the town is about to embark on updating its open space plan. So I'm looking for information as to what another committee would bring to the forest management areas in the town of Clinton, Mr. Moderator. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Moderator, Sean Kerrigan, 86 Orange Street. Yes, when the petitioners brought this to the board, I asked the same questions, what the need was, and I was hoping somebody who was in favor of this would be here tonight. I'm inclined to pass on it if no one wants to argue for it, because as Ms.
I
Parkinson
mean, I feel
said,
the same way. No one up here has promoted this. So, you know, Gloria's looking for some answers. I don't have them, but I don't think anyone here has them. Oh, okay, terrific.
And, sorry. All right, so part of the, I'm actually Dr. Andrea Martin. I own a 100-year-old farm on Berlin Street called Black Thistle Farm. We've been in continuous operation since 1934. So the Ag Commission, every single town in our area has an Ag Commission. We're the only one. And I will tell you right now, the Ag Commission would do several things, namely preserve open space. As far as the forestry is concerned, you would be able to have someone appointed on our committee. We don't have a forestry person right now. That's a slot that's open, so a forestry person would be there. And I will say that we are definitely interested in organic farming, preserving ecosystems, working with scientists and experts. I am an expert in the field. I teach sustainability and organic farming at Worcester State University. I'm also involved in animal welfare. So that is, I don't know if that answered your question on forestry. We're definitely, so I will say, when towns or cities lose farmland, you lose open space. You lose wildlife corridors. You use the right of citizens to access to procuring decent food that doesn't have chemicals in it, that is organic, that is sustainably created, that is something they can afford. In fact, that's what my farm does. We are a wildlife corridor. We are also involved with animal welfare. We are involved with civic engagement on an international level. And we also provide food for local residents at a price that they can afford, that they know is healthy, that they know has zero cruelty, that they can be happy serving and feeding to their families. So I don't know if that helps answer some of your questions on the more farms we lose. And I will say, in the state of Massachusetts, yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Valerie Flanagan, 200 Berlin Street. We're trying to get a program together where we can work with all the different aspects of the agricultural community and trying to tie them into different programs. So forestry is on there, trying to tie them into programs so we can add the programs into different levels to try to teach them into school programs and everything, so bringing those tied in. So forestry is on there trying to tie it into programs so we can teach it to the students. And as an educator, I like to try to tie things into student programs. So that's on there more so as trying to tie it into the community as a whole, and part of agriculture is the forest. So we're just using it as a program to tie it in. So we'd be working with the forestry aspect as a part of a tie-in. So we wouldn't be losing the partners with the Rauscher Farms and everything. We'd actually ask you to try to tie it in with us in the Agricultural Commission.
Thank you. Sean.
Sean Kerrigan, 86 Orange Street. Just a point of clarification, there's no agricultural commission now, so there's no us. The board's going to be starting from scratch. So I just want to make that clear. There is no agricultural commission right now. If you vote to approve it tonight, our board would appoint the members. Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Attorney Karen Bacon. I live at John F. Kennedy Avenue, and I am very much in support of this measure. I think that we should always be trying to preserve what little remnants of agriculture are left. There are individuals in town, like Ms. Martin, who are trying to cultivate sustainable food, trying to educate people about farm animals, rescue, and I think that this is an organization, or not an organization, but a committee that's advisory in nature. It doesn't have enforcement power, but it can provide educational information about, keeping your own food, keeping chickens, all of those kinds of things that people want to do. And I am also willing to serve on that board, and I am personally involved with animal law and welfare. Thank you.
Thank you. Phil?
Hello, I'm Phil Duffy, 260 Church Street. As the speaker from Berlin Road mentioned, that all the surrounding towns have agricultural commissions. My question to the proponents is, are agricultural commissions a creature that is enabled by Massachusetts legislation? And if so, what authorities are given under that legislation to agricultural commissions? And in what way do those authorities conflict with customs or practices or the authority of existing boards? I would want to know the answers to those questions for considering this proposal. How things are organized and how powers are delineated is a very important, crucial part of how government can function. So if you are able to answer those questions for me for the town meeting, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, I can easily answer that question for you because we are in the United States of America, and the way our government's run is that the voice of the citizens matter quite a bit, and that you want to have checks and balances in place so that no one commission or board or any government official who are servants of the citizens of any town or city or the entire United States itself don't have any kind of overruling or overarching dominion over the desires of the citizenry. So in fact, an Ag Commission would assist in balancing, as the United States Constitution addresses, that each board and commission would have to be able to not have supreme power over any other board or commission. So there would always be a balance, which is, again, an American situation. So.
John Woodsmall, 17 James Street. My comments come from a background where I was the chair of the Conservation Commission for a number of years and strongly supported everything that happened with Rauscher Farm and things like that, as Gloria might remember. As written, I think there's an administrative failure with this bylaw as this article, because it only creates a board of 4 people, which most municipal boards are an odd number so that you do not have tiebreakers. The issue with the 4-person board is also that the quorum becomes 2 people. And I bet just about every volunteer board and commission in this town is short people and could use people, and having a quorum of 2 is not a good way of accurately representing the wishes of a town. More importantly, there's a reason why Clinton doesn't have an agricultural commission, and that's because whether we like it or not, there is extremely little agriculture in this town, and the land use doesn't allow for robust agriculture in this town. And so, while I think it's a nice idea, and as a municipal official in another town, I work with the agricultural commission, so I know the things that they can be done. I do not think that this is at all necessary for Clinton, and as Ms. Parkinson said, we have the open space plan that needs to be updated, and I would suggest that as part of that process, which involves a lot of public outreach, that if there's a need or a desire from people who provide input into the open space planning plan, that comes out through it, and that could be a recommendation of the plan for action at next year's or some future town meeting. So I certainly commend anybody who puts together the citizens petition to do something that might be a little bit different, but I think in terms of administration as well as need, I would recommend that you vote against this.
Mr. Moderator, Gloria Parkinson, 90 Haskell Avenue. I think it's very important to acknowledge the passion of all of the people who live in Clinton. And I really commend the people who have come forward with this petition and with the passion to speak. I hate to think of problems. I like to think of puzzles to solve. Is there not a way that the people who've come forward with the agricultural part at least, can find the road. Mr. Woodsmore mentioned it on the Open Space Committee plan, but also other ways where the passion can be harnessed, because there are people who care about the food they eat, etc. So is there a way that I wouldn't recommend this article, but I would recommend that the passion be paid attention to and to be harvested together as a community? Thank you.
Well said. Sir.
Francisco Ramos, 12 Martin Street, and I want to support very strongly this petition. I think that just the reason that the last gentleman presented, that there is very little farm in this town, it's actually one of the reasons why we should have an agricultural commission. We live in a region where other towns are very careful about the land that they have, about the forests that they have, and Clinton is one of the towns in this area that has industry and commerce and farms and forestry are suffering. And I think that we need an agricultural commission that would bring not only all the groups together, but also advocate for farms and agriculture and forestry in the schools, exactly what the lady was saying. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Thank you, Gloria. Certainly we do not want to overlap or interfere with any of the existing fantastic efforts that have been made in terms of Roger Farm, open space. We're looking at more agricultural in terms of homesteads, people's backyards, which in some cases are their farms, and looking to be able to preserve that as well as educate people about that. In the past, I have been part of efforts with Ms. Martin to do some educational efforts through my own group. I have an animal welfare group in town called Positive Change for Animals, and we've tried to teach people a little bit more about farm animals and some of the myths around them, and there are sometimes people who like to rescue farm animals, not just use them for other purposes, and so that's one of the things that we would like to have be considered. This commission does not have authority to make any law or change anything, but it is advisory and it is informational, and I don't think there's any harm in that. I think it's a good thing, and I think that in terms of the 4-person membership, that's just a minimum. That's what's required by the statute, from what I recall. But that doesn't mean we can't have more people on it, and would welcome that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Now, we've heard from both sides, I think both sides of the issue. If you want to wrap it up, Andrea?
One more thing. I just want to say that I don't know where the idea that Clinton is an agricultural town ever came from. I think you need facts and figures to vindicate that. It's just pulling things out of the air. So I will tell you, as a person who's been in this town, has been continuously farming, not me personally, but my family has been farming for 3 generations on the same property. We are now a registered USDA farm, under attack, by the way, as many of you probably already know. But Clinton has a very rich agricultural heritage, and I will not doubt that many people here who have been here for generations know that we have a very rich agricultural heritage, and I'm going to say at least 40% of the town is zoned for agricultural use if you look at the zoning map. So assuming that Clinton does not have any agriculture or any agricultural interests, I think you need to get your facts straight on that one. But thank you.
Thank you. If no one disagrees, I think it's probably time to vote. I think we've heard a very balanced argument from both sides. So Article 38 is really seeking to create an agricultural commission here in the town of Clinton. So all those in favor of creating an agricultural commission here in Clinton, please signify by raising your card now, please. And thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The citizens' petition is defeated.
Mr. Moderator, I move to reconsider Article 38.
All right, reconsider.
Second.
Again. Oh, sorry. Remember, if you vote in favor of reconsidering, we start again this conversation and this discussion. If you vote against, if you're opposed to reconsideration, the last vote stands. So all those in favor of reconsidering the question, please signify by raising your card now. and opposed to reconsideration? Reconsideration is defeated. Thank you very much. And this is it. Shall we adjourn? Somebody call for it.
I'll accept a motion to adjourn. Make the motion. I make a motion, all right. I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor, thank you. Thank you so much for coming. Do not forget, next week, right here, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. is your annual election. Thank you and have a great night.
Nice job.
What's the,